Welcome to the JD Power AI and Insurance podcast, where we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming one of the world's most vital and complex industries. I'm your host, Michael Vermillion, and today we have a special guest who brings both depth and vision to this conversation. Bill Martin is the president and CEO of Plymouth Rock Home Assurance and has over 4 decades of experience across some of the industry's most respected brands, including Farmers, Progressive, and Travelers. He's been a pioneer in simplifying the insurance experience, founding startups like Neptune Flood, and earning accolades like the Celent Model Insurer Award. Bill also happens to be an avid sailor, trombone player, and nonprofit board member, someone who thinks about risk, leadership, and service from every angle. In today's episode, we'll hear Bill's perspective on the CEO's role in AI adoption, how to move large organizations towards innovation, and what AI means for the future of customer experience and insurance. So let's get into it. Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's good to talk to you again, and also thanks again for joining us in Chicago at our conference.
It was a good conference.
So, Bill, you've had an incredible 40-year journey in the insurance industry, from startups to senior roles at some of the biggest carriers. Can you tell us a bit about Plymouth Rock and your role as president and CEO of Home Assurance?
Sure. The founder of our business back in 1984, Jim Stone, was a former insurance commissioner and founded this from the ground up, meaning that he was an entrepreneur. 40 years is not a long time for an entrepreneur to be around if you want to be wildly successful, at least there when the profits begin to roll in. But Jim's done very well. We've built the company up to $2.25 billion regionally, made up of 3 significant legal entities and some shared services. I have one of them, and it's the home insurance business. In fact, it's a part of the business that Jim wanted to get back into because he started HomeSite. HomeSite insurance was a big success for him. Eventually, American Family bought it away from us, and his thought was, let's get back into here. It matches well with the auto insurance, and let's make a much bigger part of Plymouth Rock. And found each other after I had left Bankers Insurance in Florida, and really started to talk about how we could change what's going on in this business as well, just the same way he did back in the early 80s. So it was kind of a good fit. I believe a lot in sponsored startups because you don't worry about the things that are not primary to your success, like who's going to generate the payroll checks, who's going to clean the bathrooms, and that sort of thing. But you do worry about the value proposition. And at the end of the day, our value proposition, most insurers' value proposition, is the service they provide. So Jim's success in providing such good service that he was able to grow in a market that all had the same rate for auto insurance at the time, it was really an impressive start for me to work with. So,
well, congratulations on that success. You've been, in your career, you've been part of some really groundbreaking innovations, from simplifying homeowners insurance to launching a new model for flood. So what drives your passion for change in an industry that often moves cautiously?
this is a business where people who have a passion for change, for the first 30 years I was in it, weren't always attracted to it. That means that it was kind of ripe for change, not because there's anything wrong with the industry like many people might say, but because it's a big part of the person's budget, any individual's budget, a big part of the household budget, and people are buying it because they have to, not because they want to. So it seemed like a great place to kind of make the transformation that many companies have been making recently, which is making something that you have to do more pleasant to actually do, and something that you might want to do. That said, I also think there was something in the water at my college and at Progressive early on that kind of screwed up my brain such that I wouldn't have any fun unless I was innovating. So, yeah.
So we'd love to get your perspective on AI. So maybe as a starting point, just as a CEO, how do you view the potential of AI across the insurance value chain? Everything from underwriting to claims to customer service.
I think that the ability to bring together all of the prior recorded knowledge, the database that artificial intelligence works on, and apply it to individual situations is an extraordinary shortcut for what we are always trying to do, which is trying to make the experience for our customer and the purchase process and the claim process and however they touch us as best as it could be for that customer, meaning that you go look in the past and say, this works and this doesn't work. This is the best practice, and here's some ideas to even make it better. I think you get a head start. You get a shortcut to success with artificial intelligence that generally will take years of experimentation for people to get to. So much like AI is beginning to do a better job of diagnosing health issues, I think it's doing a great job helping us diagnose what the next best action is for any one of our customers, including how much they should buy and who they should buy it from and so forth. So it's a very exciting time. I think it's pretty fun to work with.
You know, one of the challenges of new technology is always about timing. So, in your view, is now the right time for carriers to embrace AI, or should we be waiting until the technology matures further?
I think it's a great time to do it, in part because I'm pretty sure Cameron might come out with another Terminator movie and scare the heck out of us about artificial intelligence, and I just don't want to wait for that to happen. I think we're already scared enough, and so it's time to start figuring out what we're scared of, right? I think that the solutions that can be provided are sitting there on our desks. The problems are sitting on our desks, and the solutions are now coming from AI. So I'm kind of confused as to why people would hesitate. It's not so much even the savings. We do have a bit of a habit of using new tech to save the insurance company money. It's a matter of where your world is, the consumer experience. We've not applied technology to consumer experience in a way that makes us more enjoyable to do business with, and this technology offers a way to get there.
Yeah, Bill, I think you and I have both over the course of our careers seen a lot of kind of technology waves hit us, going back to the internet and mobile and cloud. What's your sense about AI kind of in the context of what we've seen in the past? Is AI somehow different, or should we be thinking about it similar to, for example, mobile adoption?
Well, there's a couple areas where you can find parallel experiences, and there's a couple of areas that you almost have to jettison. So an example of a parallel experience would be when we first had the internet, most companies restricted who could use it. They had lots of controls about whether you even had access to a browser, much less the websites you could get to. And you had to be senior, or you had to have a training program or something like that. Yet the internet was somewhat of a free-form wander through the universe of what's online, and really wasn't that threatening. Everybody thought that they would lose all their productivity by giving people a browser, and it kind of went the opposite way. They gained some productivity. I think artificial intelligence, because you're suggesting what the artificial intelligence should work on, is way better than the internet in terms of not being a random wander. I did have a 20-minute argument with the chatbot about whether they were being biased or not. But that was offline. That was actually an interesting conversation. It was really, if tomorrow I need to get something done, I'd go to the chatbot and I'd say, all right, how should I approach this, or how can you help me do this? So it's a little bit different in the sense that it probably has less risk than when the internet came around, but it has, substantially more benefit and more relevance to what you're doing every day in the job. The other item, which is where it's kind of totally blowing up the world, is you cannot use, it became very apparent very quick that the traditional IT development process, which is where most of us are putting our AI advancements, doesn't really apply. The tools are being built by very large organizations who have the computing power and the databases to train these generative AI tools, and you don't have that within your company. Even the biggest of us don't have enough of that. And so the result is that you're really asking a tool that comes off the shelf to do work for you on your specific problem, and that's not what the tech that we've been using does. You actually need to go in and program what you want the system to do, and that's where all the work and the time and the money is. Now with AI, that's already been done for you off the shelf. You just need to ask the right questions in order to use it. So it's a very different game, and it doesn't really fit the old tech process. For one thing, there's not a start and end to the project. You're constantly improving it. You're constantly giving it new data. You want it to learn. It's getting better at unstructured data. It's getting better at quantitative data, which it was really bad at it originally. So it's a very different process today.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I want to switch gears for a minute and talk about kind of driving organizational adoption. So you've led startups, you've led large insurers. What are some of the things that you've learned about how to bring people along when adopting new technology like AI? How do we bring the organization along?
Michael, this is where I make consultants really mad. Because I'm a notorious critic of change management. I believe that the talent you want is the talent that will want to change before you do. And so if you're using change management to bring everybody along, you've got a remedial team and need to upgrade it. That's a little brutal, I guess. But people will tell you to spend thousands and millions on change management, and I would tell you make the change, and the people will catch up quicker than you ever expected. So when you talk about driving organizational adoption, if the organization's avoiding usage of the tool or developing different use cases for it, then I would tell you that you probably didn't come up with a good enough use case itself. Your people will want to use it if you develop the right applications of the technology. And if you haven't, then you should go back to the drawing board and keep working on the tech. So that's kind of where artificial intelligence brings you. It brings you right to the place where this is really useful, as opposed to having to learn it over multiple years. It doesn't hurt to get smart about what artificial intelligence is so you don't overcredit what it can and can't do. But indeed, it will help you do things in a way that will make you want to use it as opposed to avoid it. There's also a big scare thing out there. I mentioned the Terminator. Not only will these bots kill us, but apparently they're all going to take our jobs too. And I just haven't seen that. I think, asking the right question and requesting the right thing for your customer will always be a very human interaction, and the chat bots or the AI will help you get there quicker.
Yeah. So just to build on that point, what what role does culture play in all of this in terms of successful AI adoption? So how do you, with culture, encourage curiosity and kind of reduce that fear of your job being replaced?
Well, the big wave of productivity improvement in the United States came from the technological revolution that started in the 90s and continues to this day. It has made life substantially more fun. I can keep in touch with people that my elders could not keep in touch with from days that they would forget. And I can search things that would take me hundreds of pages of paging through in a library to get to. So I think that if you're talking about having a more fun place to work, it's probably one with AI. It's one that you're actually dreaming of what you can do with it, as opposed to kind of doing the rote work you did before. If in fact, like all automation, you're going to make things that are really not fun and boring to do much less difficult to do, and that makes you spend more time on the things you really enjoy doing, that reward creativity, that reward insight, and that I think makes for a much more fun environment. So culturally, if you frame the potential of artificial intelligence as being fun, most people will be attracted to it rather than scared of it.
So I want to kind of dive in a bit in terms of your journey at Plymouth Rock in terms of lessons learned and what's next. So, any lessons or surprises so far in terms of your AI journey?
There's probably two of them I would throw out. One I mentioned earlier, which is the traditional IT process doesn't work. There's going to be a temptation by lots of people to do what they did with agile development and give it all new names and make it a process that you need to buy from some consultant. This is actually easier than that, and so I believe people can get up to speed without new jargon, without a long list of best practices. So I think that but you have to start with the paradigm that how your IT development happened in the past is actually different. Integrating artificial intelligence into your current customer journey and interfaces requires some IT work, but getting the prompt right is actually the business person's work. They're saying, asking it the right question so it generates the answer and generates it in a format that it's really useful. So, for instance, our initial forays into putting a query into artificial intelligence would result in a very, very chatty, lack of a better term, a very long response that was kind of interesting and fun and a little bit generic and really didn't get to the point. It seemed like the chatbots would want to talk to us more than they wanted to actually help us. So we had to actually be more specific and say, all right, do this in 5 sentences, or do this with really simple language, or make sure you use layman's terms. This is a business person talking to a knowledge base and getting information out in a format that makes it really, really useful. And that's where a lot of the development's been. It's not been in actually getting the coding right. In fact, artificial intelligence is pretty good at testing coding. So getting the coding right could absolutely speed up. The other thing is that the tech is moving fast, meaning it's not a surprise to learn that. It is a surprise how fast it's moving. So whereas I probably wouldn't touch artificial intelligence in the pricing world a year ago, today there's actually some tools that are going to be useful in pricing. And so that's pretty fast development. I feel like I'm catching up to the new features available as opposed to me waiting for the next generation of what can happen. So that means that whatever you're committed to today, and this is a little bit problematic for a corporate leader because you have to decide, what team to invest in, what tools to bring off the shelf. It's almost certain in a year from now that teams and the tools that are the best for the use case you come up with are going to be entirely different than what they are today. That's going to be difficult to get used to. Is that I just built something that's obsolete because the stuff's moving too fast. That might lead a lot of companies to stand by the sidelines, but I would say the benefits are immediate enough that you'd probably want to do something now.
Yeah, so just to build on that point, any advice that you would offer other CEOs in terms of where to start or how fast to move with AI?
I would tell them that you can still turn it off. So far, everybody's worried about making a mistake that creates a biased tool or creates a tool that's doing things you don't want it to do. If you're not watching it, then maybe it will do that. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but you can still turn it off and you can still start over and you can still. There's a lot of room for trial and error here that doesn't damage anything. I'm less fearful of that than I was before. We've been very concerned about putting our own data in a tool and then it becoming part of the world of data that other people will benefit from. The people who provide these tools have solved that problem very, very quickly, so that just about everybody in your office wouldn't be able to syndicate your own data for other people's use. It prevents that from happening. So that was a bit of a relief to find. We were very much worried about that. We're very much worried about bias. We're very much worried about how the regulators will look at it. We've seen a couple regulators throw a very wide net out and say that things that we've been using for 20 years are now artificial intelligence, things like generalized linear models or machine learning. We're all grappling with this and getting through it, but there's no reason to wait if the benefits of even the simplest use cases are sitting there waiting for you.
I think that's good advice. So, well, Bill, we are JD Power, so we need to connect the dots back to customer experience. Maybe to kind of start here, how would you see AI enhancing the customer experience in insurance? Where could it really potentially move the needle?
think it goes back to the definition of artificial intelligence, which I would say has got two things. It's technology that absorbs unstructured data and is able to interpret it. And the second is it learns from new data as it comes in. With those two things, then you have your opportunity to greatly speed up some of the things that take a long time and annoy your customers. For example, if a customer calls me today, we can get and use an AI tool to present a complete dossier of every touch the customer's had with us, including what they've done online with self-service, including what they've done in other departments, like claims or automobile insurance as opposed to home insurance. And so the person answering the phone or responding to somebody on a chat or an email will have everything they need to know to relate to what the person's done before, as well as get to the point. Most all of us have experienced service situations where we explain our problem to somebody and they transfer us, and we have to explain it again until we get to the right transfer. Right? I think artificial intelligence immediately can eliminate that and provide a very current understanding of the customer to anybody who is in line to serve the customer. The other thing that I would think can happen here is use cases that bring that combined knowledge that artificial intelligence brings to our plate and actually provide services for the customer they wouldn't otherwise get. For instance, tell me everybody who's licensed to install windows within 5 miles of my house, and it will go research and find that information for you. Well, I can easily I'm giving people ideas here that I'd prefer to implement first myself, but I can easily put that on my app and say, all right, here's a service for you that's part of your process of home maintenance, as opposed to just me being there when the worst things happen. There's multiple other things. I would say one other piece of advice I'd give to CEOs is just tell the customer when this is being done by artificial intelligence and give them the option to opt out. But to the extent our AI is helping my employees, it's just a non-issue. You'll still get the same information to provide that customer, even if it's provided by a human rather than an automated response. A lot of people are talking about this for automated response, and I'm not worried about it. I just think that the average customer, if they really like the automated response, will opt into the automated response. And thus, there's no reason to force them into it. I don't think the biggest savings we're going to get here is by getting rid of customer service reps. I think it's in other areas.
Yeah, so just to kind of to build on that, and I think you've already touched on it a little bit, but we know from our research here that there are just some key moments of truth in the insurance experience where a human connection is important. And I think that some people are concerned that AI will replace humans. We've talked about that a bit, but do you see that happening, or do you see actually AI as a way to actually enhance that human connection?
I think you end up, call it, boiling down to what the human value is. I don't find as much value in somebody translating numbers from one spreadsheet to another as I do from them looking at the spreadsheet and coming up with insights that they're getting from the data. So if you think about, like I said, I kind of mentioned earlier, the most repetitious things you do are the places that AI can go and do things quickly, or the most boring things you do are things that they can take away from you. Then you're boiled down to where you're really adding value as opposed to just passing time. So I don't believe that this will take jobs. I think it'll enhance jobs. One of the best examples I have is right now. If you ask any experienced leader in the claims department how long it takes to bring an adjuster up to speed, they'll say something like 2 years or 3 years or something like that. But your problem is who are they dealing with in those first 2 to 3 years? What sort of things are they not getting right with the customer in that period? Are they not showing enough empathy? Are they not responding to phone calls quickly enough? All that sort of stuff. Well, if you have a tool that's giving you advice on what to do next, and maybe even how to do it with your claimant, then you might be able to shorten that time up as much as a half to 2/3 and make these people very effective adjusters much earlier without the damage that they did for 2 years when they weren't well trained. So again, it makes the job, it enhances the job. It doesn't take it away. There was things that people are doing that AI might be able to do better, and I'm guessing that the vast majority of those are ones that they don't really enjoy doing that much.
Uh, Great examples. So Bill, just to wrap up, I couldn't resist bringing sailing into the conversation. So I saw in your background you're an avid sailor. Sailing, like insurance, requires navigating uncertainty, even on the East River when you're trying to avoid hitting the Brooklyn Bridge. It involves reading the environment, making real-time decisions. Do you see any parallels between sailing and how insurance leaders should approach AI?
Yeah, it would probably scare my board to hear that I would compare going through a thunderstorm on a sailboat in Lake Michigan as to some of the things I have to do here at work. But it's kind of not entirely different. There's a lot of unexpected things that happen, and you have to triage. You have to MacGyver your way through it, and there are a lot of periods of contemplation. Where you're just sitting on the rail waiting for the wind to come back. There's some people who think I'm a little different than most in the sense that I don't wait for the environment to be right to do things, which some people say, it's really good to do everything you want to do in a hard market. Well, some of the best of us in the insurance business have done very well in soft markets. It's true that you sell faster when the wind's blowing, but if you can figure out how to make up some mileage when it's not, you're going to win that race. So I actually think there's probably more value in understanding how to get around the Manitou Islands in Michigan when there's no wind than when there's a storm brewing. So you can tell I've sailed to Lake Michigan a few times with my brother who has a boat there and he races to Mackinac every year. And there is never a race that doesn't have something go wildly wrong,
Right.
and hours of just pure joy watching the shoreline go by.
So just to wrap up then, is there a single innovation or an innovation in AI right now that you're excited about, and how would that potentially impact the future of insurance?
I will confess to wanting the claims valuation process to be more logical, so that there isn't any perception by the insured that they're being cheated, and there's no ability for a company to cheat them. I don't think that the subjective nature of current claims handling and settlement is a good thing for either side. You end up having to give large amounts of money to your lawyer, or you have to give up a large amount of what might be paid to you to your lawyer. Either way, you're not in good hands if there's lots of lawyers involved telling you that the other side is mean and evil. So I'm hoping that artificial intelligence brings together the vast amount of data about claims valuation and just frankly tells people the facts and says, here's how these claims have settled in the past that are similar. Here's how your claim is different, and narrows down the negotiation and the subjective part of claims settlement to something more rational than I'm a better lawyer than you are.
That's a great example, because we know from our research that fairness is really a key driver of satisfaction when it comes to the claims experience. So,
and it's the delivery of our service. It is the product.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
delivery of a check to our customer when they have an unexpected financial event is the process. So the fact that it's so wrought with contention and adversary relationships is just, it's sad to have that happen after years of having a loyal customer. So if there's something better we can bring to that process, I think you'll have people feel a lot better about insurance in general. Not just home insurance, but health insurance and car insurance and so forth.
Well, Bill, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was fun to talk to you.
That was an incredible conversation with Bill Martin, a leader who has not only witnessed the evolution of insurance, but helped shape it, from navigating the complexities of AI adoption to drawing unexpected parallels between sailing and strategy. Bill reminded us that embracing innovation is as much about mindset as it is about technology. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe to the JD Power AI and Insurance podcast wherever you listen. And if you're a leader thinking about how to bring your organization into the AI era, this is a conversation worth sharing with your team. Thanks for listening. I'm Michael Vermillion, and we'll see you next time.